What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to this special podcast. I have a blast from the past and a living legend. I suppose you're both living legends, really. I'm joined by Cash and I'm joined by Tom. And Tom, how long has it been, my friend? It's been too long.
It's been a very long time, yeah, man. I think it must be about a year, at least a year. So yeah, it feels quite new in a weird way, but also kind of familiar. So yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be back.
It is so lovely over the past couple of weeks to have been able to catch up with Cash, with Dave, with Chris, and with yourself, Tom. Yeah, it's nice. It feels like we've come full circle, and a lot has happened, mate. We'll get through it as the pod goes on, but a lot has happened. But first and foremost, I want to know, where were you for number 6, mate? How did you celebrate?
There's a pub by London Bridge. If anyone guess I'm from London, if anyone's news listening that doesn't know me, and it's called the Blue-Eyed Mermaid, and it is a Liverpool pub. And yeah, I watched it there and it was just insane. There was really, really good atmosphere before and after the game. And when that Origi 85th minute goal went in, like it just completely erupted. And yeah, it's just fucking insane. Like I'm smiling just thinking about it now. And to get number 6 was so good, such a good way to win it.
Yeah,
that
it
was good to
was
say.
some turnaround, mate, from that company goal, wasn't it, on the Monday night to what happened
Oh,
against Barcelona then on the Tuesday.
mate, that was such a sucker punch. Like when that goal went in, it's just you thought Leicester could get something in that second half. Like they were really holding them, and then his company just whacks in an absolute thundercunt and turns into prime Stevie G. And it's like, for fuck's sake, like we just didn't need it. And then to go from that, yeah, to then number 6, like within a few days, well, a couple of weeks on it. But yeah, that was so good to clinch that trophy. And yeah, my background on my phone is just a picture of Klopp absolutely gurning over the trophy, and it makes me smile every time I look at my phone.
I'm running out of things to post with the number 6, so I literally went to a Sesame Street post earlier on just to grab the number 6, Bert and Ernie. Bang, there you go, that'll do. Anything to just mention 6, anything at all. I don't even care about it. I mean, if they thought we were going to be unbearable, they have no idea. It's only starting. It's only starting. Cash, how are you, my friend? We
Hello.
spoke last week. Feels like a long time though. A lot happens in football. How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been pretty good, to be fair. You said before with Tom, it feels like it's been it's been too long. Probably with me, I feel like it's not been long enough. It's only been a few days, but yeah, no, everything's good with me. Pretty relaxed. I'm in a good mood. I'm very happy to be on the pod.
Excellent. I'm so happy we're back doing pods. Makes everything we've done on YouTube is great, but there's just something special about getting to chat to your mates about football. And as I said, it's been too long since we spoke to Tom. But what we found, Cash, when we did the pod with Chris and with Dave, was you kind of just settle back in, don't you? You kind of just fall into place.
I think so. I think like when people have a sort of natural chemistry, particularly when we're all discussing something that we enjoy and we're knowledgeable on, that just kind of returns instantaneously, even if there's been a bit of a rest period or a bit of sort of a bit of a passage of time where we haven't been doing anything. So yeah, it felt very natural. I think that came across when I listened to it back.
Right, enough foreplay, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get straight into the transfer news. And Tom, the big story, if there is a big story for Liverpool transfers, but a story over the past couple of days has been the emergence of Liverpool's link to Ousmane Dembele from Barcelona. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, first thoughts are, is he good enough, really? I mean, he's been quite injury prone, hasn't he, the last year or two since he's been there. And they're looking for a pretty damn hefty fee as well, probably in the region of, what, 100 million, I'd say, like trying to recruit. How much did they pay for him? Like 120?
105 million euros, I think it was.
Yeah, so they paid a fair whack for him themselves, so they'll definitely be looking to recuperate most of that money. And yeah, he's quite young and he kind of fits the profile. You know, he was at Dortmund, so he definitely would have been on Klopp's radar before, but he hasn't really kicked on. And I don't see us spending about £100 million on a player that isn't going to be starting and doesn't really have, the stats or the form to back it up really at all. I just don't think he's worth that money. We've got Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah that are going to play pretty much every game over him anyway. Yeah, it's good. I think we need squad depth, but no, I just don't see us paying that much money for Dembele.
It's interesting, Cash. Tom said I can't see us paying the 100 million, but it's so nice that we could if we wanted to. We're in a position as a club now where, yeah, 100 million, we could do that if we wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that sort of increase in the amount of revenue, which is well publicised and well known, creates its own set of problems, though, in as much as, everyone knows we won the Champions League 6 times. Everyone knows that we made the highest amount of revenue from TV this year of any Premier League team. So, clubs will potentially use that as a bargaining chip when it comes to trying to sell their players to us for a premium fee. But yes, you're right in the sense that having that financial freedom is a really good thing. But you'd have to argue that Klopp has always shown that even with financial freedom, he's always been very shrewd and prudent with who he's bought. He has spent big money, but it's had to be absolutely right. And if you were looking at signing a player like Dembele, you would have to pay in excess of the club record fee for him, I believe, in terms of what our record fee is at the moment. It also, to buy him back from Barcelona for a big fee, it would sort of feel a bit like Barcelona were able to undo some of the damage that we did to them by selling them Coutinho for such a high amount of money. So I feel like that wouldn't be good either, because I like holding that over them. And the final thing is, like Tom said, with Ousmane Dembele, there's two things. Firstly, his injury record, as Tom pointed out, really, I just brought it up here. Since 2016-17, that season, he's had 7 different injuries. The lowest, he only missed a couple of days. The highest, he missed 106 days. So it's quite consistent in terms of like the number of injuries on average. 2-3 a season for a player who's only 22, and also a player who has had well publicized disciplinary problems. I mean, when he went from Dortmund to Barcelona, if anybody remembers, he essentially went on strike, refused to train, did all the things to get that move. And since he's been at Barcelona,
motherfucker disappeared, Cash. He disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. I mean, he went AWOL. He went full on, he went beyond the Coutinho "I have a sore back" witch doctor thing to the whole, I'm going to just, go all rogue like Julian Assange and just disappear. And you can't do that as a professional. I mean, there's no doubt the Klopp would get him in line, and he probably wouldn't do that under our tutelage. But at the same time, we're in a position where we have a lot of money, we have a lot of credit in terms of the project. So why would you buy a player who isn't guaranteed to have a good attitude or a good injury record?
Tom, one name that just won't go away, buddy, and I'm not going to lie, I don't want it to go away. I want there to be a little bit of hashtag Fekir Friday again this summer.
Oh, me too, mate. Me too. I was so convinced we were getting him last year, and then I think we all were, really. Like, it was so close.
He did the video, he did the interview. I think
yeah, exactly.
Convinced.
And it was just the last roll of the dice, and that was it. He's gone. It's not gone away, and I think it's still quite interesting because what's made it interesting is he's now in the last year of his contract, so the price should be a lot lower, which could tempt us back in. Because I think I read stuff about last year that there was a lot of stuff with the knee, as well as like the insurance that we'd have to pay for it. So, if we can get some money off the transfer fee, put that towards some really solid insurance for his knee, then yeah, why not? Like, I know there's been a lot of reports saying that we're definitely not in for him, which could be true, but I feel like there's been reports that we're not in for anyone, right? So you got to think we're going in for someone. So yeah, and if it's Fekir, then yeah, that'd be so good, because I think he's a class player, really. I think he would be really class in our team. But I would get your hopes up, to be honest. Like on that, actually, I feel like because everyone's seen that our transfers do so well and that we underpay for players, like relatively, then people just know that, and people know we've got the money. They're just going to hike the prices up if anyone knows who we're going for. So we're trying to keep everything on the down low, really hatchet those leaks and whatever, just keep everything really closed and tight-lipped. So I think this transfer window is just going to be pretty much nothing for a while, and then potentially like 1 or 2 signings just out of the blue, kind of like a Fabinho thing, which no one saw coming.
That was amazing, that Fabinho transfer.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody. I was thinking about this, Cash, and Tom was right. Fekir is definitely going to be cheaper, so we're moving on Rafael Camacho. We're probably moving on Ryan Kent. Surely if you free up that money, that's almost worth taking a punt on Nabil Fekir for, let's say, 30 odd million quid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think he definitely... It's still kind of shrouded in mystery as to exactly what did happen last year and why it fell through at the last minute. Obviously, I personally think he's the kind of player we need. Do I think our season lives and dies on whether we get him? No, not really. But I think when you calculate all those factors that you've just outlined, Craig, there's real evidence that it wouldn't be a massively financially impactful risk. But obviously there's an issue with his knee. I think as well, although we're in a position where, as Tom rightly pointed out, clubs will hike up prices, he is also, in the last year of his contract, he clearly wants to go. He will go. There's no indication that he'll sign a new deal. And Lyon are sort of in a position where they are potentially going to end up selling a lot of their best players. If you look, Furlan Mendy has already gone to Real Madrid. Their central midfielder, whose name I cannot pronounce either.
And Dembele looks like he's Spurs bound.
There you go. Yeah, that's the one. He's obviously in talks to sign for Spurs. You've got and you've also got, there's one more midfielder.
Ouar, I can't pronounce that guy's name either.
Yes, so I mean he's obviously been linked. As has Moussa Dembele. The striker that used to play for Celtic. He had a good season in Ligue 1 and he's also been linked with a move away. So you'd argue that their project is certainly one that's being taken apart. And I think Lyon are in a much weaker position than they were last year in terms of their selling power.
And they also have the power. Actually, Jean-Michel Aulas has come out and said that Fekir can go this summer. There's an agreement in place, so there's not even that hurdle to overcome.
I mean, I wouldn't trust the paper that's not written on. He seems like a nefarious, slimy bit of a dick, really. So, I mean, I sort of feel a bit sorry for Fekir in the sense that obviously we often criticise players for agitating for moves, and rightly so, because it's unprofessional. But I think there are some instances where you feel like a player's almost been held hostage against their will and held as a kind of as a totem, I suppose, symbol or something. And I feel like that's what they do to Fekir. They've sort of been like, well, you have to stay and that's it. And it's, I don't know, I sort of feel a bit sorry for him. But I think his attitude's been pretty good, really. He's not really said too much. And conversely, rather than do a disappearing act like Dembele, someone else we've been linked with, he's actually had a very good attitude this year. Another factor that Klopp would like.
Tom, it's great to have you back because we now have a resident football hipster back, and there's two names, mate, that I know absolutely Tweedledum about, and that's Fernandes and Pepe. Have you seen much of Bruno Fernandes or Nicolas Pepe? Because I haven't been seeing any Sporting Lisbon or Lille games this season at all.
Not really, no. I mean, I would not call myself a football hipster in any way, but
I need to remind you about the Jorginho jersey?
Jorginho, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. He's not done that great for himself, has he? Well, I guess he won the Europa League, but anyway, enough about him. Fuck Jorginho. Jorginho. Fernandes is one. That's a link that's been that hasn't gone away either, really, and that seems to be getting kind of a lot stronger in the last couple of weeks. It looked like he was going to City like before the end of the season. There was lots of stuff about that. He kind of seemed to me, from what I know of him, kind of in the Fekir mould. I know he scored quite a lot of goals this season. I think he can get about 15 goals from midfield, and he loves a good. I think he loves a good long shot as well. So I think that's kind of what our midfield is missing. If you're being really picky about our team, our Champions League winning team, is that probably the midfield don't score as many goals. Although that isn't really part of Klopp's system, but. I think he'd be a good addition. The prices are looking at about, what were they saying, about 50 million euros, I think was quoted. We could get him a bit cheaper, so that could be quite cheap for someone who could be a really, really good player for us. And Pepe seems, apparently that's a lot of those links have just been him trying to hike up his price or his agent feeding stuff out. I don't know if that's true or not. He seems like a really good player though. He's very leggy. Really fast, and I think he's scored quite a few goals as well this season. So I'd like either of them at the club, to be honest. It just depends on how much we're willing to pay, and what we're going to spend. But yeah, no, I'd happily take both of those players. They definitely improve our team and give us a lot more depth coming off the bench.
On the Fernandes thing, I think he broke the record for goals scored to midfield in Portugal. I think it was 20 goals and 13 assists or something like that.
Yeah. He's the highest, also, Oh, sorry, go on.
He's also got the 45 million offer cash. Did you see that? Apparently, some Portuguese outlets said Liverpool threw in a 45 million euro offer from Pepe. I'm always worried about signing one-season wonders like this from a club in France or Italy. Cash. I've got to be honest. Of these two, Fernandes would definitely seem like the safer bet. But from what I've read, he seems possibly Manchester United bound.
I mean, he personally has said that he likes the Liverpool project. He feels that it would suit his game and it would suit his skill set, and it'd be hard to argue. And you and I actually spoke about Bruno Fernandes on the last chat we did, Craig, and we were talking about if a player has to choose between the current and Liverpool and Manchester United projects respectively. There's no case. It's clearly the Liverpool is the more attractive, but obviously we know that there's a lot that can happen between a player's desire to go to a certain club and them going to that club. But I think in terms of that offer, I'm not sure if that would really satisfy Sporting. And also, I suppose the other concern I would have is just that his amazing numbers, which are relative to a weaker league in Portugal, and it's fair to say that not every player that comes to the Premier League from Portugal immediately flourishes to the same extent as they did in the Portuguese league. So there's definitely a risk involved with him. But that being said, if you're looking at potential players that we need, that is the area that keeps recurring again and again and again, either a number 10 or a goal scoring midfielder. And certainly he would fill the goal scoring midfielder spot.
Tom, it's the Fekir thing that keeps coming back up here, mate. Fekir is a 10. I know Fekir can play anywhere across the front three, but people are saying, well, we don't need an attacking midfielder. Well, we were clearly looking at one last summer, mate, and not much has changed there. So Fekir, Fernandes, and I know Pepe is more of a wide forward, but they all kind of fit the bill.
Yeah, they do, and I agree with you. In this system, Klopp, what we've seen him do with the midfield three in particular, is they're more workhorses more than anything, and they just feed the ball to the really narrow strikers, or they feed it out to the fullbacks who provide the whip, and they get the ball in, and they're the ones that create things, and we see that with both of them getting double figures in assists. So that's where the real creativity is. But on the flip side, you're right. Last year we were clearly pursuing Fekir, and he got very close to signing for us. So there are clearly some tweaks that Klopp would like to do with the squad, and he might even want to add a different system to his armory, because we've seen how good Klopp is tactically. He can change formations within a game, and maybe putting Fekir behind Firmino or something like that, or Fekir instead of in the 10 and Salah up front or something. Going to a 4-2-3-1, for example, it just gives him a lot more options. And I think Fekir is quite a special case, because to me, he seems really strong for a midfielder. Like he's built, he's pretty damn tough. He's fucking chunky. He's a chunky lad. So I feel like he could hold his own in a midfield three, potentially on his own anyway. And he'll definitely be great for winning the ball back high as well, because like I said, he's a chunky guy, and he's a bit of a shithouse as well. He's got an aggressive streak in him. I always remember he was what was it? Lyon versus Saint Etienne. I think that's the derby, and in France. And I think he took a penalty and took his shirt off, and he basically caused a riot in the stadium because the fans were just so pissed at him. So yeah, he sounds perfect. Get him in now. Anyone does that, get him straight in.
I think Tom just touched on an interesting point just briefly. What I think is important about Fekir or any signing we make is that it does allow for us to change our system, because that's really the only criticism that you could level at Liverpool this season, was that we didn't have enough fluidity in terms of our midfield, and enough ability to change it up, and we didn't have enough variation in terms of the types of personnel. And that is going to be so important, because if you look at Man City's midfield, Man City being our realistic rivals for the title next season again, if you look at their midfield, they have a lot of multifaceted types of players who can score goals, who can be robust, who can work hard. Many of them can do all of those things, and I think that's the one thing that we do need to look at at the club, particularly because obviously Milner is brilliant, but he's in his mid to late 30s, so you've got to look at the long-term project. You've got to look at the fact that Gini Wijnaldum does have games where he is very anonymous, and I know that is not something I like to say, because he's a great player and he was wonderful in the back end of the season, but he does have those games, those Gini away days where we're like, where is he? Then you've got obviously the situation where Henderson and Fabinho seem pretty nailed down in terms of their respective roles, but you've still got one other who can go in there. And then you look at Naby Keita and his record with injuries, which obviously hopefully will be rectified for the season. But I think whatever happens, you need to have a fresh body or bodies that enable us to change the type of personnel, because otherwise the play does become quite repetitive and easy to read. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I was just as you listed it there, and I think you forgot about Oxlade-Chamberlain as well.
Oh, God, yeah, I did actually.
Putting all those players in line, and I think you know, that's quite a lot of centre midfielders, basically. But they're all. I know Ox can play on the wing, but he's played as a centre midfielder here. So listing all those players, that's quite a few players for just 3 spots. So I actually think that kind of makes me feel like we're probably not going for an attacking midfielder this window, and that what I've seen is that we're looking to probably get a backup for Alisson to replace Mignolet, probably a left back, a sub left back, and then a versatile forward. And I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm not too sure if we will actually sign a centre midfielder.
I think that's a good point. I suppose the discussion kind of started because Bruno Fernandes and Fekir are the 2 players that we've been consistently linked with. You are right, though. We haven't really been linked with anyone in terms of left back. Obviously, we've been linked with.
Oh, I've got a name for you.
Who is it?
Oh, I've got a name for left back. It is indeed Matt Targett, yes. There's a couple of things I want to go back on there while you guys were talking. One, I now need to see a gym off between Fekir and Shaqiri. That has to happen, by the way. I want to see both of them on leg day in the gym. That has to happen.
Leg day, Shaqiri would win. But I feel arms
sure.
and chest, Fekir would shit all over Shaqiri, 100%.
With regards to the chance creation that you spoke about, Tom, you're right. A top 3 chance creators in the team were Mo Salah first, then the 2 fullbacks were second and third. So you were absolutely spot on. Most of our work and chances were created down those wings. So everything that you guys have said makes sense. But I want to quickly come around to the Matt Targett thing, Cash. He's a name that I've struggled all summer to think of somebody who could come in and be back up to Andrew Robertson and be willing to be. And Matt Targett was somebody that burst through on the scene at Southampton quite young. And I think it was at the time Luke Shaw was coming through as well. And he was ahead of him in the pecking order, but I think he picked up an injury that kept him out for an entire season and set back his breakthrough, which allowed Luke Shaw to go and, go to Manchester United and, I don't know, do whatever the fuck he's supposed to do at Manchester United, because I'm still not sure what exactly he does there. But Matt Targett, to me, it makes sense. He's 23 years of age, so he's not that young. Probably relatively inexpensive, and I think he's still behind other people in the pecking order at Southampton, so I think he's worth a punt.
I mean, I think when you consider the last left back that we bought for relatively mediocre, relatively meagre sum, went on to be the best left back in Europe, I think you've got to consider that anyone that Edwards and Klopp collectively identify as being right for the club, I disagree with. I mean, that sounds non-controversial, but I have so much trust in them that I just agree with whoever they profile and decide to buy. But you are right, Craig. I think he actually, by all accounts, was really instrumental in the promotion season that Fulham had. So when they came up the year before last, he played I think it was pretty much every game in the Championship. They wanted to sign him permanently. They couldn't. He was perceived as really crucial to that promotion bid. And yes, obviously Liverpool's a much higher level, but if you look at what his role would be and the fact that he would probably be quite content within that role, you're right. I think it's totally worth a punt on someone of that ilk, because you can't buy a substitute left back that costs 4 times the price that Andy Robertson did. It just doesn't work. So
yeah, that's true. And Tom, we've possibility of having 72 games next season if we were to go right through in every tournament, which I know is probably a bit far-fetched, but let's say early 60s, mid-60s, that's a lot of games.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I feel like we have to target the trophy, the cups this year. Definitely, I'd really want to see us get past just get into the knockouts, like just to the later rounds at least. We always go out in January. It's just so shit.
Oh, it's so depressing, isn't it? I was thinking this the other day.
But yeah, there's going to be a lot of games regardless, and we got the Super Cup and the Community Shield and all that jazz as well. So we're all thinking it. I feel like everyone agrees we need some squad depth. And I'll stick up for Matt Targett here. I do think he is a decent player. Like obviously he's not pulling up any trees, but I feel like he is in the kind of Andy Robertson mold. And I think he was playing as a wing back in a 3-4-3 system last season with Fulham, and he was very, very good, as Cash said. And he's always been quite an attacking fullback. I'm not too sure on his defensive ability, but I mean, he can't be any worse than Moreno. So yeah, if we can get him for cheap, then I think that could be a really decent signing, to be fair.
We also have to take into account Adam Lewis coming through from the under-23s, who's the club seemed to rate very highly. So it is definitely one to keep an eye on. Tom touched on the amount of competitions we have, Cash, coming up, and I wanted to get your opinion, both of you, on will the African Cup of Nations and the Copa America impact our season and our preparation, and also then the World Club Cup coming up in December. So pick whichever one of them you want, Cash, and we'll have a go at that one.
I think I suppose the more obvious one for me to pick is the African Cup of Nations, but I just want to make one quick point, or two quick points on the Copa America. The first being that the fact that Fabinho is stupidly not in the Brazil squad is a fucking blessing, and we should thank our lucky stars that he's not, because that's going to have a massively positive impact on us, both in terms of his conditioning and in terms of his hunger. That would have pissed him off, I'm sure. And secondly, have you seen some of the matches in Copa America? God, good luck to our other players that are there, because they are brutal. Like there's like they are, it's shithousery central. It's like
Cash,
Fekir
I
team
watched the
shit up.
game in the Maracanã and I was thinking, is this the fucking Maracanã or is this a Sunday League pitch? Because it was in bits. It was terrible. The pitch was cutting up all over the place.
It's a weird one because the Copa America, obviously, everyone's like South America, home of football, etc., and so on. But there's a lot of bad press around the Brazil team at the moment. Because I was actually read a really good article on this, and it's the fans feel totally priced out of it. So, for example, the average ticket just for your average Copa America game is like €100, or start with the equivalent of €100. So, for the guy in this article was saying that for most Brazilians, that's like basically a huge amount of their average weekly income, if not more than. So it's totally priced out. So you've just got these atmosphereless games with just the elite in the stands, and it's kind of reflected. But if you actually, just to address your point, if you look at the quality of the pitches, it's nowhere near the European and Premier League level. And then if you look at the fact that there's some seriously questionable decisions in terms of what's allowed within the confines of the game. There's been so many rough games already.
Sorry, I'm laughing here because I'm just thinking, like, yeah, there's some seriously strange decisions. Qatar and Japan in the fucking tournament being one of them.
Well, I mean, they obviously, every year they have two foreign, or every time it's on, they do invite two guest nations in, but obviously Qatar's involvement, just stinks of corruption as well. And the whole thing feeds into this negative perception of the Copa America, in the sense that a lot of fans feel totally disconnected from it as a competition. So I'm glad that Fabinho's not there, and I'm kind of sad that Bobby is. I don't think we've got anybody else there. I think that, unless I've missed someone. Alisson, pardon me. Sorry, yeah. So Alisson hopefully obviously won't suffer any kind of an injury. So I guess the African Cup of Nations is the one where we have more risk, because we've got potentially not fully fit Naby Keita, who's been pressurised by the Ghanaian coaching staff to be there, and he wants to go. So there's a whole issue about that. And then obviously you've got Salah and Mane, who carry their country's respective hopes, not entirely, well, not almost entirely on their shoulders, being honest. So there's obviously a risk involved in that. But what can you do? You have to go. You have to thank whatever God you believe in that it's no longer in the winter. That's good for us. We'll have them back. But with every competition that's not Liverpool based, there's a risk to your player, and that's our players, and that's a fact. But I think it'll impact pre-season. But I don't think it'll impact come the crunch and come the decisive time. But only time will tell. But I want the players to do well for their countries because it matters to them. But I want them to be well and healthy for Liverpool more.
Absolutely. And Tom, that leaves you, my friend, with the World Club Cup in Qatar in December. Say what you want about where it is, mate. I don't even want to get into that conversation really. But what do you think? Will it impact us negatively?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it's not a good thing. It's clearly not a good thing. Like, we're travelling half the bloody world away in the middle of winter, whenever it is. And yeah, I mean, that's just going to piss everyone off, really, isn't it? Like, but if we win it, then that counts as a major trophy, right? So
yeah, we've never won that one before either.
Yeah, there we go. That's the one. So we do want to win it. But it's just a joke that it's in Qatar. But I think that whole thing with Qatar and the World Cup and all that jazz.
Well, didn't Michel Platini get arrested?
Exactly. And that's really bad, because he was an actual footballer as well. Like, usually it's just the men in suits and, the people in power in the glass and shit, the bad guys. But to have an actual footballer who won, didn't he win the Ballon d'Or?
Yeah.
Like 2 or 3 times even. He done it at least once anyway in the 80s. So he was a class player, and for him to be arrested in these corruption scandals was just pretty bad.
You just have to wonder what's the benefit for him there. It's not like he's someone who would financially need the money. It's not like he's someone.
I remember reading an article that his son got a big contract or a big job over that neck of the woods.
Allegedly, just covering our ass,
yeah. Alleged. Good man, Tom. I knew you were here. I knew you were back. Right. There you go. Cover me again.
But it does sully the whole thing, and like you say, there's nothing about Qatar that makes it suitable for football at any point in the year. There's a reason they're not a big footballing nation.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason that, you know, big games are not played there. To be honest, the people in suits and the people with more money than any of us could ever conceive of having, they're making decisions that are fucking with the sanctity and the importance of the game. And you're really taking it to that level now where, you know, let's say for example, you know, we go out there and something really serious happens in terms of injury or in terms of anything that relates to the fact that it's in a ground that's totally unsuitable for such a high importance match. You know, you cannot justify making these decisions that, like I said, fuck with the sanctity and the beauty of the game that we all enjoy just for these reasons. And there has to come a point where that stops. But when it is, I don't know.
Another massive fuck you from UEFA to the fans as well was this 5,000 ticket allocation for the Super Cup, which is in a lovely arena, by the way. The Vodafone Arena Besiktas Stadium is a wonderful stadium, but 5,000 tickets for Liverpool, 5,000 tickets for Chelsea, again, just no thought, no care for the fans. And I understand that you want the locals to get to see the game as well. 100%, they have every right to be in that stadium, and it would be great to have them there, but it's a little bit too little, Tom. 5,000 for each club.
Yeah, that's way too small. I mean, you know, if they're actually trying to legitimize this trophy and not make it seem pointless, then that is not the right way to go, and only having 10,000 fans in there. And yeah, the way they've built those stadiums and just the whole thing, it just stinks, doesn't it, really? It really does stink. But can I just have a little old man rant about how much football there is going on, just touching on the AFCON and Copa America and the Women's World Cup as well. It's like all at once.
And the under 21 Euros.
Yeah, and the under 21's Euros. Like, I know it's ironic saying this on a football podcast, but Jesus, there's so much football. Like, I thought the season was over, but there's just more football. Like, there's more football than ever.
And then we've got Friday night football, Saturday night football.
Oh, it's non-stop. There is a thing, and like I said, it's ironic for me to say this. I love the game, but I feel like there is a thing as too much football. Like, just give the players a rest. Like, just give them a rest, guys. Like, just one summer off. Because there's Copa America next season as well, right? They have like every 2 years or something, or in dual years. It's just like, why do that? That just makes it really weird. It's such a weird format.
That's before we even get into the whole thing about Amazon now having some games as well. So that's a third subscription you're going to need to watch football. Sky, BT, and Amazon Prime now for like Boxing Day and a couple of other games.
I mean, they really don't believe in the whole idea that, you know, absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's almost like they're terrified that if they stop showing football, people will just stop enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's you're right, Tom, in the sense that it's give the players a rest. You know, it's like anything in life. You need to sustain people's appetite, and the way to do that is not to add in further subscription services like Amazon, as Craig pointed out, or to make fans trips to like Baku or Qatar to see games that it shouldn't be that hard to go watch a fucking football match. Or to watch it, or it shouldn't be that expensive to be able to watch a game. If you look at a lot of the reasons underpinning why people love football and enjoy football, it's to escape from the day-to-day drudgery of normal life. But if you make it... Sorry,
give them a small amount of credit, just a very small amount. What we've seen when the Champions League final was in Madrid this year was a city that is more than capable of hosting it, a city that's well versed in having big football occasions. And I have to say, a small bit of credit here, that fan zone and the 50,000 Liverpool fans that were there, it looked sensational.
But that's not attributable to UEFA. I mean, that the fans create that. UEFA choose the city, and yes, they chose well with Madrid, but the fans create that. If you look at last year with the final being in Kiev, that wasn't a desirable location, but the fans created something magical in terms of the atmosphere, and everyone has said that. So, yes, I agree. It was a brilliant final, but I'm very loath to give UEFA any credit because the fans create football, they dictate it and they control it and they monetize it to the extreme. But the fans make football what it is, and they shouldn't be making decisions and making it impossible for people and essentially turning it into a sport that you need to be wealthy to watch. And if they do that, they will ruin the game. And it's something I feel quite passionately about, clearly. But yeah, I'm sorry, go on. I'm just loath to give them any credit because they don't make...
No, that's a fair point.
They don't make decisions for the benefit of the fans. They make decisions to benefit themselves, and if the fans benefit, that's just a convenient byproduct.
True, and look, there's one thing we can say about the fan parks as great as they were, they didn't show the games. And they didn't show the Champions League final in the fan parks. That's a massive fuck you to the fans that went there. I absolutely agree, and I want to just take a second as well to say the Liverpool and the Spurs fans that went out there, that mingled, interacted with each other. You all represented your clubs magnificently, and it looked like a wonderful occasion. So well done to everybody concerned from the club's point of view and the fans. Before we finish up, guys, there's a couple of rule changes that are after coming into the league into existence this season, and I thought, Tom, we could touch on a couple of these. The first one, buddy, is the goal kicks one, and it is the most common sense thing I've seen in years, because I cannot tell you how pissed off I am when a goalkeeper tries to be a smart arse and take a short goal kick only for an attacking player to close him down, the fullback to step into the 18-yard box and touch the ball, and then the goalkeeper to get another chance at it. Now, if you take it, you can take it. It can be short, it can be inside the box. There's no issues. Much better.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It just allows more attacking play and allows building from the back. And for an attacking team like Liverpool, then that's absolutely perfect for us in that context. And you also saw it where, you know, the centre back or the full back was just inside or just on the line as the keeper played it, and the ref blows it back, and it just wastes another few seconds. So then he can just step about 3 inches to his left, and then bam, takes the goal kick again, and he passes it straight to him. Like, it's completely pointless waste of time. So yeah, bringing that kind of limit off, it just allows for more attacking play. You can build it from the back with your defenders, and it just, yeah, you're right, it just makes sense. I'm glad that's it, and that's a good rule.
More excitement as well, Tom, because if the keeper is being a smart arse, the fullback isn't watching, and somebody like Bobby Firmino nips in and dispossesses him, then game on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it flips the other way as well. You know, strikers can pounce on that, and you know, if they're quick and smart enough, like you said, then they could definitely, you know, have some fruitful returns. That would be quite entertaining, actually. You know what? I'd put a bet on there being a goal like that this season.
I hope there is.
Yeah. Someone will definitely get in the box really quick, or the keeper will scuff it straight to someone, and then bam. Yeah, that'll be class.
I'm looking at you, Hugo Lloris. I'm looking at you for this one. He's going to do it. Cash, what's your thoughts on this? Common sense?
Yeah, I think it's common sense. I mean, I think it's one of those rules where I think any rule should exist to give, I suppose, to give strikers the scope to be opportunistic. I think that you don't want to dilute the game too much and take that away. I think there's nothing better than seeing, okay, you don't necessarily want to see goalkeepers, unless they're Jordan Pickford and his tiny arms, humiliated. But at the same time, if there's an opportunity there to be taken and maximised, I think the striker should be given the scope to do that. And I'm quite excited to see Bobby do that this season and do like a no-look after doing it. I think that'd be funny, a no-look goal. But yeah, I think it's sensible, and I agree with Tom, really.
Next one, Tom, is substitution. So a player no longer has to leave the pitch at the halfway line. He can now leave the pitch at the nearest white line, basically the nearest point of exit. And this has obviously been done to stop that situation. Well, you know where I'm going, buddy. Players jogging across the field knowing that their number's coming up.
Yeah, and you know, like the previous one, it seems to make sense, and I feel like everyone can agree that we don't know why that wasn't in the game long ago. I think the key thing with this is the implementation of it, and how players will actually, do you think? I mean, there's going to be players that will say, "Oh, I forgot, ref." They're going to go all the way to the other side and then just trudge all the way across again, and they're just going to, "Oh, I forgot." And we'll have to wait and see how the refs deal with that, if they just brandish a card and a big fuck you to not reading the rule book. But yeah, I don't know. I think the implementation of that one would be interesting, to say the least.
Sure.
One that always used to get me, Cash, was a player who was down injured like a foot away from the line. I just felt like, drag his ass over the line, for Christ's sake. Stop wasting time here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's one of those things where it's the player will try and gain whatever advantage for his team that they can, and that's natural. I don't think you could criticize anybody for trying to do that, but that's why the rules are there. You have to implement them, and you have to make sure that players do toe the line. And as Tom said before, and I agree with, I mean, both of these rules are just, patently common sense, and I think it will be funny to watch, because you will get, players probably like pushing a player like over the line and not at the halfway line, and there's probably going to be like, there's going to be an element of theatre involved in it. Like, they'll probably have like Paul Pogba dabbing his way off the pitch or something like that, or you'll have a situation where, I don't know,
Dele Alli and Harry Kane will come up with a dance.
Yeah, him and like, if they do a double substitution for like Ali and like Son, it'll just be like a handshake off the pitch, like, that kind of shit. And I think it's got the scope to be quite funny, to be honest. But we'll we'll have to wait and see. I don't think it's the most critical rule that they need to change, but I do think it'll help with the expediency of the game.
And the last one, Tom, is no attacking player will be permitted within 1 metre of a wall that has 3 or more players in it. This has obviously been brought in to try and stop players, barging into somebody else and making a gap in the wall.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this one. I don't know how that really affects it all. Yeah, it will stop those kind of weird free kick routines from the attacking teams, like you said. But I don't know. I kind of like that. I think it makes it a bit interesting. You see something different, and I find it funny when you get a player like kneeling behind the wall.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking of, where they
Yeah.
kneel behind.
Yeah, and like you get little tricks like that, and I think that's actually quite fun. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one, but I guess. Yeah, that might mean that. What does that even mean? Does that mean it's going to be less free kicks scored? Like, I don't really see that making too much of difference.
I'd
be
imagine
honest, I mean, I
Sam
don't think it's
Allardyce
gonna-
is turning in his bisto right now.
Yeah,
I
he'll be
think like
fuming.
I honestly don't think. I mean, it obviously has its place and it obviously has its set of objectives. But to be honest, I mean, it's not going to stop players doing what they normally do in the wall, and that's like covering their genitals and block and not even like stand in the way of the shot. I mean, if you look at like what happens a lot of the time is you get players in the wall, but they don't actually really act as a wall. They turn away from the ball. So I don't really think like if players are going to be cowardly in the wall, I don't really think keeping the attacking players out of the wall is going to have any impact whatsoever. So it'll be interesting to see how it impacts. But I suppose the stats will reveal whether more or less goals are scored from those types of positions after this season compared to last, and that'll show how effective that rule has been.
Won't stop Trent sticking in top bins, 25 yards. Won't stop Trent one
Absolutely
bit.
not.
Look, I think we're going to bring this one to a close. There's so much more we could have went through. There was the introduction of VAR, big screens, but time has beaten us. And Tom and Cash, as always, it's been such a pleasure. Tom, it's at Liverpool Truly for you, mate, on Twitter, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'm not too active on Twitter, but yeah, give me a follow, and yeah, if you fancy it.
And Cash, it's just at Cash Boyle for yourself.
Yeah, I'm pretty boring. Have an unfortunate surname. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, but your Twitter account is far from boring. I've yet to see somebody who dabbles in as many different facets of social media as you do with regards to politics, comedy, LGBTQ rights, legal stuff, football, of course, so much.
Yeah, I suppose I've just got an interest in anything that involves the rights and wrongs of life. So I guess I do come across as a bit sanctimonious, but it's okay.
Well, you know what? I love you both, and it's been an
Thank you very
absolute
much.
pleasure having you both on again. And Tom, we must get you on again maybe in a couple of weeks, buddy, whenever you're free, and keep this bus rolling, because it's been a real pleasure for me being able to chat to yourself, Tom, Cash, Dave, Chris, Connor, of course, over the past while. It feels like we've kind of come full circle, Tom, and I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's been good to be back. It's just like riding a bike. You never really forget. You just sit here and chat, and it's good. So yeah, it's been good to be back.
Yeah,
Cool,
no,
look.
I've enjoyed it too.
Excellent. Look, we will leave it there, ladies and gentlemen, and I thank you so much, as always, for coming on, for joining us, for taking the time to be with us, and we'll catch up with you real soon. Up the motherfucking Reds.